Push the button.
He has his Chris Cerino fan club T-shirt on. I mean, you almost.
Now he's bowing to you.
Benjamin, can we swing a camera? Can we swing a camera over there and get that on camera? Because that's really something. He can't. Hey, Pat, come on over here. No, don't take anything off. You look perfect. Come around here in the back. Can we make a hole for him just for a second?
Are we going to start selling these shirts?
We really should sell these shirts, but this is my friend Pat Campbell. He's from Youngstown, Ohio, and he is an official. You're not just a member. You're the. There you have it, folks.
How much did you pay him to come by while I was on the set?
I did not. Now get out of here. I got to do an interview. Okay, so we are absolutely live. It is afternoon. Golly, it's 1:30 already. We're at SHOT Show 2024, and I am here with Leupold and Stevens, Shawn Skipper. There's so much to talk about, but first let me say we are brought to you by Palmetto State Armory. Palmetto State Armory, they're doing great things. They've come so far. I mean, from when Palmetto first came out, Palmetto State Armory for all your firearms needs, firearms, ammunition, and everything in between. But let's get back to Shawn here, and we all call him Skipper because he's got a really cool last name.
I don't have a fan club though. I got to really move up in the world.
Oh my gosh! So Shawn, this is our first time doing anything live or interactively like this in front of God and everyone.
I've done my best to not have it happen, but even not have off days.
You avoided it, but KJ needed to take a break and sneeze and cough for a minute.
He worked for 4 or 5 minutes, and that's about as far as he can go.
Well, he follows the same motto as myself. I like to start off slow, and then I taper off from there. So anyhow, so Shawn, my first question to you is, and I think people want to know, so it's called Leupold and Stevens, and I know you say it's not really an exciting story, but I remember Stevens, the brand, the outdoor brand of Stevens. How come it's still Leupold and Stevens?
So when we were originally founded in 1907, it was a guy named Frederick Leupold and his partner Adam Volpel. So the company actually started as Leupold and Volpel. And that went on for a little while, making surveying instruments, things like that. And eventually, Frederick brought a guy named J.C. Stevens into the fold. He joined the company and took over a portion of the partnership. The company was ultimately rebranded and renamed Leupold and Stevens Incorporated. And for a while, that carried on with again, kind of surveying equipment, instruments, things like that. It was in the 1940s when Marcus Leupold went out on a hunt in eastern Oregon, missed a deer because his scope at the time fogged up, brand X. I don't even know what they were using in the 40s, to be honest with you. Marcus brought that scope back to his engineers and said, can you build a better one of these? And They did. And they worked with it. They found a way to fog-proof it. Of course, we were the first people to do that, really get that right. They started selling them commercially, and it didn't take long before the rifle scopes took over the entire business. There were some Stevens instruments around for a long, long time afterwards, but they have kind of long since gone the way of the dinosaur, and we are ultimately Leupold and Stevens, just manufacturers of the world's best sporting optics. You will sometimes hear people say Leupold because we kind of treat that's the brand. Leupold and Stevens is the formal name of the company. It is what is on our door when you walk in. It is what is on the sign out front. And both members of both families are still very active in the company today.
Fantastic. What a great story. I thought he said this was going to be boring, honestly. And I have to say this. You've told that before, haven't you?
A time or two.
I mean, I can see it sound like a tour guide on a bus. Michael, am I right? That was pretty perfect, if I must say so. I don't think Michael's listening right now. He's listening to something else. It's okay. So today at SHOT Show, we have a couple of new releases.
We do. So what I've got in front of you here are 2 examples of the Mark IV HD family of rifle scopes. Brand new this year. We launched them just a couple weeks ago.
Mark IV is something that I'm familiar with because even when I was back a cop and a SWAT guy, it was the Mark IV. So how is the Mark IV new? Because there's a Mark V. So
speaking of history, the original Mark IV came to be in the late 80s, early 90s. Leupold, some folks may not know, developed the first tactical rifle scope, dedicated tactical rifle scope. Obviously, our armed forces, law enforcement had been using scopes for decades, but they were largely just using the same things you were buying to go hunt a deer with. In the 80s, the government really wanted to kind of move the sniper program forward, move long-range shooting forward. Leupold was one of the companies that got involved, And the scope we ultimately brought to the market, both eventually for civilians but also for military use, was the original Mark IV. The Mark IV HD is a new iteration. The original Mark IV was ultimately surpassed and discontinued in 2018. Fantastic scope, excellent legacy, used all over the world. We discontinued it in 2018 as we moved forward with the Mark V HD. That did leave a little bit of a hole in our line in terms of price point. That $1,000 to $1,600 price point. So since then, we've been developing the new Mark IV HD, which builds upon its ancestors' legacy. That legendary grit, legendary performance. It builds upon that. It just kind of adds in all the optical enhancements we've learned over the years, we've developed over the years. So we put that all in the Mark IV HD.
So HD, what does that mean to somebody that's looking at this scope?
High definition. It's the performance of the glass.
And that is about quality of glass, inclusions, things like that. Am I correct?
Yeah, the glass, the coatings, everything, the whole package.
Okay. Because a lot of people don't understand. They think it's high definition, which means there's some kind of sorcery that makes it more clear. But it's actually starts at the glass, correct?
Yeah, it is part of an entire optical system. But the glass is important. The lens coatings are important. How you treat everything is important. And I'd love to say we've got some wizards that work in our factory, but they are just the world's best optical and electrical engineers. We can call them wizards if you like, but they're engineers, and they are the very best.
So these look like, and the last thing we need are more expensive scopes out there, because every scope is, people are always appalled at what they have to spend on good glass. These look like really expensive scopes.
Well, they look like high-performance scopes to me. And I want to cover briefly, you were like, how's the Mark IV HD new when you had the Mark V HD?
Okay.
And that's a naming convention thing. I want to clear that up.
So we'll get to MSRP.
We'll get to that. But I want to cover a naming convention thing because you got ahead of yourself there. When we name a scope, we're not just going down the line like Mark V, Mark VI, Mark VII. That's not how we're building a scope, like throwing 1, 2, 3 after a movie sequel, right? The Mark IV HD is named as such because it has a 4:1 zoom ratio. The Erector system is a 4 times. Great, we're losing Chris.
Oh my gosh, I dried out.
We'll send my hospital bills to the Gun Talk booth.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I knew it was coming because we're having so much fun talking, and next thing you know, your voice goes.
Yeah. So, the 4 comes from the 4:1 zoom ratio. So, for example, 1 to 4.5 on this particular scope, 4.5 to 18 on this particular scope. It has nothing to do with the era or when they released or timeline. We could just as easily we released a Mark III HD just a couple of years ago after the Mark V HD. It's like I said, we're not movies.
I get it.
It's all about the Erector system.
I totally get it now. So let's get back to what. We're going to talk about the features of these, but like I said, they look like more expensive scopes. And from what you've told me, these things are not expensive.
So they are not. So the entire Mark IV HD line, just to let you know, covers 5 different magnification ranges. I've brought 2 here today because I did have to leave a few in the booth. I've got a 1 to 4.5. I've got a 2.5 to 10. I've got a 4.5 to 18, which is sitting here in the mount. I've got a 6 to 24 and an 8 to 32. So it covers the whole family. We've got everything from an LPVO, maybe for your AR, all the way up to that 8 to 32 for your long-range precision rifle competition gun.
Man.
So the 1 to 4.5, based on the feature set you're looking for, because some of these scopes are illuminated, some of them are not. But we'll start on the shelf at $1,000, and that's on the shelf price. The 8 to 32, all tricked out, gets to the highest point, $1,600.
Wow.
So it is just coming in at an incredibly valuable price point, and I'll tell you what, you're paying less than you should for these scopes. They are absolute premium performance.
I know, that's what you were saying. So is this going to be a problem for the Mark V series?
Absolutely not. The Mark V is its own scope. It's an incredibly successful scope. It's winning competitions all around the world. It's being used on battlefields all around the world. It has just an enhanced feature set over the Mark IV HD. With the 5, you get the 35mm main tube. You get a greater magnification range. You get a more professional, kind of higher level illumination system. It's a dial illumination on the side, which does add a significant value to it. With the Mark IV HD, we're going back to our push button, which people are probably familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just it's features and bells and whistles, right? It's an upgrade. Yeah. But we do not expect the Mark IV HD to cause any problems for anyone except our competitors.
Man, I tell you what, it's fantastic, and I cannot believe how light it is.
Very, very light. We make some of the lightest scopes in the industry. So the 1 to 4.5, obviously the lightest in the line, about 18, 19 ounces. The 4.5 to 18 there comes in at about 27 ounces, and even the biggest ones are only going to top out about 30.
So you were saying that the Mark V series is a 35 millimeter tube, and a millimeter down, we're at 34 with this. So why did you guys decide to go back to the 34 on this, or why not just go with the 35?
In part, it was drawing differences in between the lines, but also in part it's because we listen to our consumers, right?
Okay.
And while the Mark V HD is very successful, it has a more specific case use, and people were upset with 35 millimeter rings, right? Well, yeah, there are not a lot of them out there. We make them. We make fantastic 35 millimeter rings.
You do. I know that.
But guys were calling saying, "I want a 34 millimeter main tube. I want 34 millimeter setups. They're more common. They're more out there. They're more affordable."
Right.
So we were like, okay, we can do that for you. We can have both. We can have best of both worlds. So we went to the 34 millimeter main tube with the Mark IV HD, at least for the 4.5 to 18, 6 to 24, and 8 to 32. The 1 to 4.5 and 2.5 to 10 are 30 millimeter main tubes. But 34 millimeter main tube, fantastic. There are countless systems out there for that main tube diameter. People can be very happy. Use our rings, use somebody else's rings. As long as you're using a Mark IV HD, I can meet you in the middle.
Okay, so I'm looking at these now, and I'm seeing we got mil radians here. We've got MOA here. Is this also come in mil radians, or is it just going to be MOA?
Every scope in the line, or every magnification range, I should say, is available in both MOA or mil configurations.
That's big.
These just happen to be the samples I grabbed.
No, that's great. And it's spurring conversation, which is important to me. So I remember that in the early days of the Mark IV that I had on my precision rifle back in law enforcement, it was a mil reticle with the MOA turrets. Look, can we talk about that, or is that something you don't want to talk about?
We can absolutely talk about that. Those scopes are still in the secondary market. They were around for a long time. That all stems from when the original Mark IV was being developed, and it had a few other names before Mark IV. They were government contract orders, right? We gave the consumer, in that case, the United States government, what they wanted. They wanted the mil reticle.
This was the government.
Of course, it wasn't us. It was, and you got to give your consumer what they want. The consumer was calling for mil reticles, MOA adjustments. We built the scope that way, and then we eventually made it available to the civilian market. There were a few questions. We explained it. Hey,
man, I just remember having to try to figure everything out, and it was almost like, why even have the reticle in there? Because I could never figure it out. But we've already talked about it. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'm here to tell you that in the age of MOA, and mil, oh my gosh, it's just so much easier.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, that contract called for that setup, so we built it, and then we made it available to our consumers. With the Mark V HD. It was one of the first scopes, the tactical scopes that we rolled out that had just taken everything we learned and really gave the civilian market really what it had been calling for, right? The Mark IV, the Mark VIII, those had started as contract work, so they had a few very specific features that a lot of civilian shooters just didn't really feel they needed. So we made some changes for the Mark V HD, and it's reflecting that in the Mark IV HD.
Very cool, very cool. Zero stops, I see.
Yep, everything. Every elevation turret in the line has the zero stop. These are 3-turn dials, so you're getting an incredible amount of travel. Some scopes will have a zero locking windage. Some will have a capped windage, so you can go either or.
Yeah, no, it's great.
The precision shooting market, those guys, the people that like to dial for wind, they want it exposed, and they wanted it with a zero lock dial, so we set it up that way.
And I love the generous throw lever. It looks like you can take it off, too. You can take that off.
Absolutely. If you don't, it's easy to manipulate, but hey, if it's not your thing, screwdriver, take that thing right off.
And it's really smooth travel. Really smooth travel. So let me ask you a technical question or a personal question. First, a personal question. For you, MOA or mils?
So I am still an MOA shooter myself, coming up predominantly as a hunter. I am working my way over to becoming a mil shooter.
Why?
It just has, I feel, a few further applications with the long-range shooting, right?
Okay.
I will always be able to do both, and I want to be able to do both.
Okay.
But right now, everything I am still shooting is MOA. I've got a rifle set up that's going to have a Mark IV go on it this spring, and I'm going to continue to better myself as a mil shooter. I want to cover both mediums. Okay. That said, the reason we make it in both, we are not judging anybody. We want you to use what you are comfortable with.
Right, I just want to be one, not the other.
Yeah, and look, and that is the most important thing with an optic, is that you're comfortable with it in the field.
Right. So let me ask you another question, technical question. Are there cartridges that lend themselves to MOA or mil?
That is one I probably cannot answer. I do not know. we get some of my ammunition buddies in here, we'd have to check it out. That is not my area of expertise. I do not know.
Well, I thought maybe that was something that you'd maybe put some thought into, because I know that we've been on demo ranges and stuff, and we're shooting, a mill reticle, a mill optic with a 6.5, and they're like, yeah, you're going to want to dial up 1.3, and I'm like, really? 1.3 is what 300 yards?
Either or, varies.
Somewhere around there, and it's like, that just seems like it's so easy to do. But you got to remember, that's 13 clicks, and I don't know what that would be in MOA and all that stuff. And it's like, I wonder if that's like one is faster than the other. That's all. I didn't know if you had put any thought into that, and I wondered if anybody might care.
If I called in some of our engineers, we might be able to get the answer to that question. I do not know it myself.
No, but that's cool. So is there anything else about these that we absolutely need to know about?
No, like I said, price point is huge. The performance is incredible. You're getting our professional-grade optical system, the very best optical system that we offer. Like I said, the important thing to know is that there are 5 different scopes in the line. So you got everything from the 1 to 4.5 to the 8 to 32. This is not one scope dropping. This is 5 scopes dropping, and they're actually all available on shelves right now. We expect them to go very, very quickly. So, if you can't find them, call your local dealer or retailer, get an order in, because these things are going to be very hot for a very long time.
Yeah, I can tell you at this price point. So last question. This is it. Everybody wants to know, the price is less. Is there any kind of decrease in durability?
Absolutely not. That is not how we run our business, right? At Leupold, everything is tested to the exact same specs. We run everything through the exact same Punisher testing machine. It is, whether it's your $200 VX Freedom to your $3,000 Mark V HD, they're going through the designs are going through the exact same testing process.
Excellent.
And look, all of our scopes are rugged, reliable, dependable, the most in the industry, and we're not going to back down on that ever. You're not paying for more durability, you're paying for more performance.
Fantastic. I'm so glad to hear it. Well, Shawn Skipper from Leupold and Stevens, SHOT Show 2024. This is my first time doing an interview with you, and I'm so glad to be doing it, because honestly, these are things that I'm kind of a layperson at it, and I think a lot of people out there that are watching have probably the same questions.
Perfect. Well, we are happy to answer.
I'm really glad that you were able to be here with us. Folks, more Gun Talk Live to come. The day is not over.
Thanks for watching Gun Talk Live. For more great gun content, subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. You can always watch the Gun Talk channels on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon. And of course, you can always find us at guntalk.com. Thanks for watching.